me grow. 13 stars have now become a strong and healthy 50. I've been overseas to foreign lands, been in newspapers and cartoons, carried by soldiers into battle. I've even been to the moon. You can have your opinions of me, but I will wave continuously to signify that you are free. All I ever ask is that you don't tread on me. Yes, they call me Old Glory. 250 years, proud and tall. And you have my solemn promise to represent justice for all.
Hello and happy American Independence Day and happy 250th birthday to the United States of America. I am Pam Ray, and with me is my co-host T.S. Jojo, aka John. John and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group called Late Night Poets. Now, tonight we will be delving into and discussing poetry inspired by this special day, the history, freedom, and rights it represents. And hello, John. How's it going? Happy 4th.
Happy 4th of July. I hope you had weather that I hope you had weather that was conducive to a happy 4th of July.
Well, you know what? I spent my 4th of July indoors, so the weather didn't really cooperate, but it didn't matter to me because things were so simple. I just had my daughter over for a simple lunch, which we did indoors in the apartment, and but for anybody who wants to do fireworks, that's either not going to happen or that's going to happen late. Because since 7 o'clock, we've been having rain, although it's lightened up. But still, it's yeah. I'm guessing from what I saw you saying that you had obviously the thunderstorm and downpour that started at 7 p.m. my time showed up a little earlier for you.
No, it was actually maybe a half an hour or an hour earlier. I don't really remember the time. I was scrambling.
Oh, okay. You just remember running indoors.
Well, yeah, but also then we had water just pouring into the basement. So.
Oh my goodness.
And some really heavy winds. It completely knocked over, the big tent that we had set up outdoors, and I mean it's demolished. Tree branches down, broken windows. I mean, it was just major.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, it was bad.
That's scary.
So.
Yeah.
And then it came. A second round came through like an hour later and dumped another, 100 gallons of water into the basement. And ugh.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh, we had 3-inch hail. We had hail coming down that was 3 inches in diameter.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just crazy to me. Like I swear to goodness, one moment you've got this really hot weather with a bright shining sun, and the next thing you know, Mother Nature is throwing, baseballs at you.
Yeah, they were like huge. I didn't check to see if any of the cars were dented, but I'm assuming that they were.
Oh, probably with hail that size. Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah, the last night my kids went to go watch fireworks, because what it is we have another town called Shell Lake that's only a 5-minute drive from us. So the towns coordinate that Shell Lake does their fireworks on the night of the 3rd.
Yeah.
And then Spooner, which is a town I live in, does their fireworks the night of the 4th. And my kids went to Shell Lake, and it got started late because, first of all, it was raining, so they started later. And what happens is, because it's on the lake, there are people who like are out on boats, like not only the boat that they stand on that I think that they shoot the fireworks off of, but then just people on their boats watching. And my kids were telling me that one of the boats caught on fire,
Oh,
and
no.
yeah, and from I haven't heard of anybody being hurt. So that's good. But it's still, and understandably so, they had to, cut it off early. So, but yeah, that's well, that's just sadly one of those things that there's a chance that that's going to happen.
Yeah. But I mean, I wasn't expecting hail. I mean, it was really
Right.
today,
Now
and it
that
was
is not something you expect on the 4th of July. Fire you expect, drunks you expect,
yeah,
loud noises. There's certain things that just go with the 4th of July.
right.
Hail is definitely not one of them.
No, especially when the everybody's just been like really scaremongering over the heat this week. I mean, it was really bad in the area all over the north, I think. And it was definitely, in the 90s and fairly humid. I mean, I went out to mow this morning for about a half an hour and was totally drenched in sweat. So, I don't know. Hail and that kind of heat just makes my head spin.
It really does. It really does. It makes you I don't know, like to me it's just kind of like, all right, what level of hell am I in now?
Yeah, right.
and what did I do to deserve to get here?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh my gosh. But I have to say, I am so glad that we are able to do this show tonight, John. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, fun.
To me, this is such an important day. I mean, I really don't do a lot of big celebrating. I usually tend to keep things simple just because I don't really have a lot of family. And so I keep things simple, but it's still to me a very important day. And the thing is I feel like that no matter what your beliefs, no matter how you vote politically, no matter, what issues are most important to you, this is a day to celebrate. And I'll be one of the first to acknowledge that it has been a difficult journey. We are not where we need to be. We are going through difficult and challenging times, and it can be easy to forget how important it is to acknowledge and in some small way even celebrate the rights and freedoms we have. Like, like even if you totally don't like anything that is happening in the USA now, and even if you've got all these complaints, and your complaints are understandable, but the thing is you live in a country, you know where you can speak up, you can say something, and it's not always easy, but I just feel like no matter where any of us are, in our, like I said, our beliefs or how we vote, it's just an important thing to honor the history of the United States and the journey that we've taken, and even if it's not honoring, even if it's all it is remembering that it is a journey that we, have and will face bumps in the road. But yeah, so I don't know, John, if you have anything you would like to say about the topic, the show, about the American independence, anything like that.
Well, um, for most holidays, they're a chance for my innermost community here in the Northeast, well, in Connecticut, central Connecticut, to come together. And, so we barbecued, and everybody brought dishes, and had the rain and wind and so forth not come along, we would have spent the entire afternoon and evening just being together and celebrating our community. Whether any of us are actually welcome in the wider community of the United States at the current time is questionable at best. But I guess I feel like that was double underscored by the president's address from Mount Rushmore yesterday, which was one of the most divisive, politically motivated the only politically motivated 4th of July speech I've ever heard. Made it clear that much of my community anyway is not welcome in this country. And that they are the enemy simply because they tend to be democratic socialists, which was far and away the subject of the main part of his speech yesterday. But we still find time and love to for one another to come together and celebrate what could be more so than what currently is, I guess. So this is something we do at most of the major holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas.
That is a wonderful thing, because it is important for communities to come together.
Yeah, we should try that on a national scale sometime.
Right? We really should.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a little hit and miss for me. And I think it's probably that, judging from some of the poems that we had submitted to the contest, I feel like that's not exactly a lone voice in the void. We had at least a few poems that were maybe focused more on where we could be rather than, where the founding documents said that we aspired to be. And I think criticism is it's still mostly legal, and it's important in a democracy to criticize and speak out. It's literally the First Amendment to the Constitution, and that's how we hopefully improve over the long haul. But we also had a few poems that were maybe a little bit more focused on the ideals, the founding documents and so forth. So I thought we had a really good mix of poems, plus a few poems from those who are commenting from afar internationally. So we had one or two. Monty's and somebody else's poem from a Canadian perspective. So I thought it was a nice mix. What did you think? Oh, did I lose you? What happened? Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Monty? No, Monty, you do not want me to start singing. Trust me, I'm as tone deaf as it gets. I wonder if Pam actually, I wonder if Pam had some weather and might have lost power momentarily. We lost power here, I don't know, 4 or 5 times today at the height of our weather. And we do have a lot of weather kind of moving in and out of the northern part of the country tonight. So I wonder if maybe Pam lost power and internet. If so, it might take her a minute. Welcome back, Pam.
Yes, good to be back. Did you go ahead and read that poem I put up?
No, I didn't. You just were gone. Sorry. I didn't even know.
Yeah, StreamYard totally froze on me, so I had to close the app and then come back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
I was
no problem. I just figured that if you happen to see, I knew you were talking, but then I stopped being able to hear you. Then StreamYard froze up. And I thought, well, if I put the poem up and say John Reed in Late Night Poets, maybe you'd see it. And if you needed something to do while I was waiting to come back or while you were waiting for me to come back.
When that happens and there's only 2 of us, I don't know if it's me or if it's you. And so it took me a minute or 2 to make sure that it wasn't me and that it was you. So then I didn't look. So
yeah, okay, no problem at all. And I would like to say hello to our listeners. We have Monty hanging out in StreamYard, and we have at least a couple people listening on YouTube. And I know we're not going to have a lot of listeners while the show is live, because so many of the people in the United States, at least, are they're doing their fireworks and. So they're definitely going to, if they listen, it will be to I'm sure, the recorded show.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So would you like me to read now?
Yeah, go ahead. I have put up Discover the Mindset by Open Leapling, and go ahead and give that a read, please, John.
All right. Discover the Mindset by Open Leapling. We the people? Who are the people spoken of? How long did it take? Length of time taken for all to be equal, beginning steps balanced for all. For what was this battle fought for? Whose independence was truly gained? Can all fully claim this today? Even in this, again, what context all to be equal? Is it that certain rights are given for specific people? With a creator who is a respecter of persons, not seeing every living person on earth as a person, a supposed creator endowing by a divided mindset, given for one group of people. Is it that certain rights are given? Life that all have, life in what way? Ever to serve another, ever to colonize others, life to be lost, life that all live, liberty coming soon, liberty obtained how? Through violence brought, through obedience forced, liberty somehow controlled, liberty coming when? Pursuit of happiness?
This is an amazing write by Open Leapling, which is a new name to me. I'm glad they were inspired to share something. His poem, or their poem, was in response to, we the people of the United States hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I like that he asks questions in his poem. I think this is such an important topic that we shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. And I think this is a poem that acknowledges what I was talking about earlier, that sadly, when the Declaration of Independence was written up, it did not include African Americans. It did not, sadly, many of the founding fathers were slave owners. It did not include women. And so it was sadly, you know, and it's in the beginning, it it was a idea that had potential, but it was like I am very happy to live in the United States of America. I am, as corny as it sounds, I am proud to be an American. I would break out singing right now, but my singing is horrible, so we won't do that. But
Come on, Monty. Come on, Monty. Put the pressure on
yeah,
her. Come
Monty is going to sing, I'm proud to be a Bulgarian.
Monty was trying to get me to sing while you were dealing with your disconnect, and I was like,
Oh man, that would have been fun to hear on the recorded show.
no. Cringeworthy.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, he definitely, and the use of repetition works here very well. Um, I feel like in this poem, he speaks up about the flaws in the process and how we still have so far to go. I mean, we've made quite a bit of progress, but there's still so far to go. But I do like how he does the repetition of life, 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 liberty, 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 pursuit, and even puts in the different forms like pursuing and pursue. But I think this has really thought-provoking lines, and that it does offer up that important reminder that there were, sadly, when the words "we the people" were written, there were sadly people that were excluded from that. So excellent write by Open Leapling. Very well done.
Yeah, so I like first I like the repetition of the questions, and each of the questions kind of focuses in on, sort of founding language, like, equal, we the people, and equal in life, and pursuit of happiness, and so forth. So it sort of uses the language of the Declaration of Independence in kind of interrogating where we are relative to the intent. I think also, it points out, like you do, that not all white men were created equal. Although I kind of waver back and forth. I mean, I think you can read the Declaration of Independence as including all men and women and so forth. That was somehow violated when the Constitution was later written to, not include women and not include Black Americans and so forth. So you can sort of think of the Declaration as maybe being a purer document. But nevertheless, if you do, then, we're definitely a little far from those ideals. And that's kind of, what's being interrogated here. And I think questioning is key to our democracy, as well as to our way of life. I mean, Americans don't really go with the flow very well. They take that liberty piece pretty seriously, and if you do take that liberty seriously, then questioning is sort of the first thing that you do. And so I think that this right does exactly that, and it doesn't make the point that patriotism includes protest and questioning and hoping to push the country toward the ideal. But I think that point is kind of made by showing, not telling. So nicely done.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get the next one up. well, which I already have, but let me post it also on YouTube. And there we go. All right, we have 1776 by A.L. Phelps. They gathered with frozen marrow and ice running through veins, cracked hands on oars in the dead of night, hunger in the silence. They crossed, ice choked and frostbitten on black water, a slate gray crossing. They sat in between shores, in between despair and providence, hauling the burden of a new nation. But hope kindled in the lantern glow. They cleaved to the light, the sanctuary of a dim sunrise, aching, rowing. They only need to outlast the night. There were no promises on the next shore, but in the dark they could hold the weathered oars with steady hands, with grit in the conviction of their sacrifice. And they dreamed of a flag unfurling, one that would be stitched with hope, cloth against storm, stars shining through mist, a tattered banner quietly defiant, always hopeful, before anyone called it history. End poem.
Good read there. Good read there, Pam. So this is famous painting depiction of Washington crossing the Delaware, and I think for those who have forgotten their history, Washington's army had just kind of gotten their butts kicked in New York, and had to fight. They had to perform a fighting retreat all the way down New Jersey, and that is a long way. If you've ever driven it like 100 times, like I have, it's a long ways. And then ended up at the Delaware River and had to cross it. Washington was trying to save his force so that he could regroup and find somewhere to counterattack and hopefully record a victory or two in order to get maybe more support and funding behind them. And I think this poem describes that very, very well. So that second stanza about crossing ice choked and frostbitten on black water. I think that's a pretty good and accurate description of the crossing of the Delaware. I mean, it took them 11 hours in the dead of winter with literally ice and frostbite and so forth. 11 hours in small boats is a long time to be on the water in the middle of a Delaware winter. So I felt like that second stanza really kind of nailed, the difficulty of it. So I really liked that about this. The other thing is, is that the fourth or fifth stanza that begins, there were no promises on the next shore. And so I think that this is a story and a poem about resilience in the face of, the unknown. The Union was young. The army was battered, and yet, like I think is etched into the American character, they fought on and moved forward despite pretty severe obstacles. So I thought that stanza was also really sharp and well done as well. So, and also with steady hands with grit in the conviction of their sacrifice, I think is the part of that stanza that really stands out to me as part of the American culture, the American character. So I thought that was really, really well done. What about you, Pam?
Absolutely. Well, I thought this was just amazing. And that painting was done by Emanuel Lutz. Yep.
Remember his
Yep.
name.
That is, that is quite the name. Quite the name. Oh, just so you know, I don't know if you can hear them or not, but the Spooner fireworks have begun. I'm hoping the sound doesn't carry too much. I know I can hear it, but you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this had really strong imagery. It's a great ekphrastic piece. Like you can see how she took the imagery from the artwork and she made it poetic, but it also, she puts the humanity in it. You know, like you were saying, this is a poem about resilience. This is a poem to me that gets at the heart of the matter and reminds us that the founding fathers and the soldiers who fought in the Revolutionary War, it wasn't just about standing around signing paper. These were people who put their lives on the line in order to in order to start a new union, to start a new country. You know, this wasn't like it was just easy peasy lemon squeezy. This was fighting. This was being labeled as a betrayer to England, and you know, this is history in the making. You know, as she says in her end lines, a tattered banner, quietly defiant, always hopeful before anyone called it history. That is an amazing end line, but this has really great lines throughout. I I did especially like there were no promises on the next shore, but in the dark they could hold the weathered oars with steady hands, with grit in the conviction of their sacrifice. I
Mhm.
mean, you know, to just think that that was the beginning of, you know, like people talk about the birth of a new nation, and I think they need to realize that it was not an easy birth. You know,
It was like a cesarean section without
yeah, it
anesthesia.
was a bloody mess.
We had to cut our way away from.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think this is just absolutely an amazing write by A.L. Phelps. Great inspiration taken from the artwork, which, by the way, John, was a great suggestion that you made to put
Oh,
up
it's a
as one of the
masterpiece.
prompts.
It's a masterpiece, and
It
yeah,
truly is.
yeah,
Like, honestly, not to go slightly off topic, but it's not only a masterpiece because of the moment it represents, but his use of attention to detail and his use of lighting in the background. You know,
yep,
it really is. Even if it wasn't such an important topic, it would still be a masterpiece of artwork.
yeah. Um, so uh, there's a whole lot of inaccuracies in the in the painting, which is I think
That doesn't surprise me.
I think Leutz was actually in Germany when he painted it, and I'm not even sure if he had ever really been to whether he had actually even been to he had been to the area, I guess. But anyway, he didn't use it when he was painting it. Also, you know, there's a number of other things. It had the actual crossing happened at night under the cover of darkness.
Yeah.
The flag is wrong. That flag didn't exist until a year later. The Union Jack, you know, with the circled stars and so forth. And you know, the boat's probably wrong, but despite, you know, him kind of having to fill in the gaps because he wasn't there when it happened, it's not it's a pretty good at least metaphorical depiction of the crossing, and it certainly, you know, is just became an iconic masterpiece of the crossing, and you know, of a core part of American history. This was a really critical moment in early American history. This is where the the Continental Army either lived or died. And I feel like that captures it really, really well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, wasn't uncommon in the time period.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few of those classic artists, they definitely took some artistic liberty. Like I can't remember his name, but the guy who painted Napoleon leading the charge.
Yeah.
Not only with that a portrait of Napoleon, but with a lot of the subjects he painted.
Yeah.
He definitely was a good PR person.
Well, it wasn't like they could just jump on a 747 or A380 and
yes,
fly there to refresh their memory in the middle of winter of what crossing the Delaware might have looked like. So he was, I think he had been there before, and so he was painting from memory, but he wasn't actually like even in the United States when he painted. I think he was back in Germany.
Right.
So,
right.
some artistic liberties, which I think
oh, absolutely,
everybody does, right? All artists do. So, and it's a beautiful
Yep.
painting. It's just a beautiful painting.
It truly is. It truly is. All right. Well, if we're ready, John, I've put the next write up, which is You're Out of Time by Monty G. Point 25. And go ahead.
Cobbler? Oh.
Yeah. We had an Australian write for us.
All right. So this is another iconic image from the American Revolution, and this is called the painting is The Spirit of 76 by what's his name, Willard, right? Archibald Willard. And the poem is called You're Out of Time by Monty G. 25. Dawn, you're out of time, I'm saying. And James is rapidly running out of puff. A quick look behind sees it getting pretty rough. It's going to be a while before we see the dawn's early light. Mike, shut up and keep playing. This is the tune these people want to hear. Besides, the other mob are getting way too near. It's fake music anyway, so keep playing until I say, all right? James, are you playing the right tune? I told you what notes to play and when to stop. We have to get it right if we're going to stay on top. The Democrats are behind us playing their own song. I say, chaps, we will be there very soon. We are certainly headed in the right direction. To my great big beautiful green pool of reflection. Just a few more yards so we can't afford to get it wrong. So where are all the migrant voters now? Was it because of the big beautiful Billway? I know one day, time is not so far away. All of my devoted followers will see that I am the real thing. Best foot forward, it's time to show them how. When there, I will change this ailing democracy. They will all love Dawn's new version of an autocracy. Hang affordability and tariffs. I just can't wait to be king. End poem.
Oh, great read there, John. And what a fabulous write by Monty. As always, he gives me a chuckle and a smile. And I do think in what can be considered obviously very challenging times where people have gotten to the point where they don't know who to trust when it comes to the leaders of the country or the political system. And just you got to have that sense of humor. He's got so many, like Monty to me has so many great jabs in here. Like I honestly, that last line cracked me up because the reference to the Lion King song, I just can't wait to be king. That was great. And I like the sardonic tone of this. So where are all the migrant voters now? Was it because of the big, beautiful bill way? I know one day, time is not so far away. All of my devoted followers will see that I am the real thing. He does a great job of showing us that there's just this, sadly right now there's just a lot of challenges and ego, um that, like, too much ego being played right now. And Monty does a great job of calling that out. I'm really glad he wrote for it. Like when it comes to like a contest for American Independence Day, which I've ran more than once over the years, I never reach out and ask people from other countries if they want to write, but I'm definitely always happy to see, like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it is the idea of freedom and the idea of struggles with a society or a leadership that doesn't seem to respect the ideas of rights and freedoms is definitely something that can be and should be shared. So I definitely appreciate the humor in this. It was very well done.
Yeah, Monty's sense of humor is second to none. And this poem, shows a fair bit of that. It's funny, but it's satirical. But I feel like I should point out, because I lived in Australia for 11 years. What happens, politically in the United States affects every other country on earth in a very significant way. And
So true.
I don't know of a single Australian that wants the United States to fail. I don't know a single because I mean, they're tightly tied to us, not just economically, but in all sorts of, we have a Marine Expeditionary Force in Australia and have since about 2011. In Darwin, and they're part of the United States' commitment to the defense of Australia from regional powers, for example China. So I don't think anybody in Australia wants the U.S. to fail. They're all very deeply tied into American politics. In the same breath, there's probably not a single listener right now other than our Australian mates who could tell, who knows the name of the Australian prime minister, doesn't even know the names of the 3 or 4 major parties in Australia. So they're very much tied into what's going on in the US, but, not too many people here are very tied into what's going on there, even though, Australia is part of the Five Eyes, the sharing of intelligence, that, helps protect the United States from global threats, etc. Yeah, it's Robert Menzies is the prime minister, Monty says.
Oh, well, I will be honest, I did not know that.
No, Robert Menzies isn't the prime minister. That's an inside Aussie joke. The prime minister's name is Anthony Albanese, and his nickname is Albo. Anyway, so I do feel like our international poets have something to say about their hopes and dreams for us, and also for kind of thinking about what's going on here from their point of view. And I think if you kind of read between the lines here, this is almost like something you might overhear a conversation in a pub, of a couple of Aussies maybe talking amongst themselves. It's very kind of pub talk is what I would call it. I don't know what else to say. Just, it's almost like a conversation you would overhear about, between a few Aussies kind of poking fun at the U.S., but not to denigrate the U.S., but really as a way of saying, hey, come on, get your act together. And, I think any fears that we have here of the United States devolving into more of an autocracy are shared by our Australian mates, because they depend upon us so much. So I thought this was a really a well leveled kind of commenting from overseas. So I really appreciate this quite a bit. Monty, I think you did a great job, mate.
Absolutely.
Piss talk, yeah. So the Australians would call it piss talk, and it comes from an expression, like taking the piss, where you're sort of beating someone up, kind of chiding them, or good naturedly, seriously, not seriously, kind of chiding someone. So it's called taking the piss on someone. So
Oh my gosh. I was thinking pub talk, aka piss talk, would be a good topic for a show.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be fun. I definitely could see Monty writing for that.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe even hosting it.
Yeah, right. Piss talk with Monty.
I think that's one he would actually go for. It's right up his alley.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right. Well, up next, and let me make sure I've posted in YouTube. No, not quite yet. Here we go. All right. Up next, we have More Than Ink by Jody Melton. And it goes like this. They gathered beneath a fragile dawn, quills poised above a page that trembled with more than ink could ever carry. No cannon thundered in that chamber, no smoke eclipsed the windows, yet history held its breath as ordinary hands attempted an extraordinary promise. They believed a nation could be written into existence, that liberty was more than a word spoken by men in powdered wigs, but a seed entrusted to generations they would never live to meet. The parchment did not create perfection, it merely lit a lantern and handed it forward. Today we stand not in the hall of polished wood, but in glowing rooms of endless screens, where every opinion arrives before every thought, where outrage travels faster than wisdom, and truth is measured too often by the volume of applause. We inherit their signatures without remembering their sacrifice. Freedom is easy to celebrate when it asks nothing of us, harder when it demands restraint, humility, the courage to hear an enemy speak without becoming one ourselves. The Republic was unfinished, so is ours. The Constitution was never meant to be a museum piece hung above a fireplace of nostalgia. It was meant to be carried, creased by debate, tested by storms, strengthened by citizens willing to shoulder its weight. Every generation dips its own pen into the ink of its time. The questions have never changed. Will we sign our names with justice or convenience, with conviction or comfort, with hands that build or fists that divide? The men in this painting are long gone. Their voices have faded into dust, yet the silence they left behind still waits for our reply. History is not watching us from the wall, it is sitting beside us, asking whether the next chapter will deserve the parchment they first dared to unfold. End poem.
Great read there, Pam, of what I think is a really great write by Jody. There's just all sorts of goodness in this poem that it's hard to focus in on any one thing, but I think I like the idea in the first stanza, a page that trembled with more than ink could ever carry is a strong statement of just how tenuous they all signing of the Declaration of Independence, the writing of it, how this was a pretty scary feat. That had never really been attempted before. To ink a document saying, that we as a people have a right to self-determination, to self-governance, and that we have a right not to be subjugated by the British. This was definitely a time where many were trembling at what they were doing. So I thought that was a really strong statement in that first sentence. This was also the second stanza is, this is before war really erupted. The war erupted as a result of this. So, no cannon thundered yet. And there was no smoke. But, everybody was holding their collective breath because what they were doing was just so untested, untried. It was brand new. So I thought, like every stanza here kind of captures a pretty important part of what was going on in the drafting and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And then there's this volta. I think it's, today we stand, not in that hall of polished woods, but in glowing rooms of endless screen. So, there's this kind of a jump to today, and where, outrage travels faster than wisdom, and truth is measured, by the volume of applause. Kind of asking the question of, well, what have we done with that, with that monumental document and event, and the sacrifice that went into that, and are we honoring it now? Freedom is easy to celebrate when it asks nothing of us. I think the idea that people have the idea that they can participate in democracy with tweets and social media posts that cost them nothing, when obviously democracy demands much stronger and much more committed action, tantamount to what the signers of the Declaration of Independence had to put forth. And so I think Jodi's kind of asking that question of what are we doing now to really preserve that and honor the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence. I think he does it with a really, really strong right. What did you think, Pam?
Oh, I have to agree. This is a very strong right by Jody Melton, and he was inspired by Prompt 2, which was the signing of the Declaration of Independence by John Trumbull. Yeah, I really like, as you were mentioning, how he splits this in two parts. He first shows us the history, which to me, history is so important. I mean, yes, we want to move forward, but we also want to remember where we came from. We want to be able to learn from history. And I like how he shows us in that second part where we are now. And he reminds us that this isn't just a piece of paper that's decoration. This is something that represents the rights we have, those rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I mean, this right is amazing all the way through. I like that he acknowledges that, there's an idea of that there was still progress, but this was that was needed, but this was a moment of many moments in the beginning of our nation that was filled with so much hope, so much promise, and a light, and I just thought this had amazing lines throughout. but I did especially like they believed a nation could be written into existence, that liberty was more than a word spoken by men in powdered wigs, but a seed entrusted to generations they would never live to meet. The parchment did not create perfection, it merely lit a lantern and handed it forward. Now, I will also say that I got a oh gosh, where was that? I have to find it now. Okay, maybe that was a different poem. Um, Geez, don't you hate when you think you saw a part and then it's like, okay, oh yes, it was. It was like right after that, basically the part where it says, today we stand not in that hall of polished wood, but in glowing rooms of endless screens where every opinion arrives before every thought. Oh,
Yeah.
I got the biggest kick out of those lines because it's humorous, but it's also sadly true. It is just god awful how many people, just will spew out hate because they're hiding behind a screen, or arrogance or ignorance because and you can always, the thing is people will be like, I researched this, and it's like, well, yeah, but you can research anything as long as you word the question right. Google or whatever search engine you use is going to show you the sites that give you the answer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you're always going to be able to find the answer you want. So, but yeah, this is definitely a strong right. I should see what Monty's saying. I feel like he's always saying something that I'm going to miss. Yes, history has taught me that marriage ain't all it's cracked up to be. Oh my goodness gracious. I feel like with Monty, his wife is probably oftentimes standing behind him with a rolled up newspaper, ready to whack him on the back of the head. Yep.
And if she isn't, she ought to be, I think.
Yeah, right. So true. So true. All right. So the next one I'm going to put up, John, it's a fairly long one. I'm going to have you read it, but
Yep.
I'm also going to, here's the thing, is I need to step away just for a little bit. I'll probably be back, but I'll leave it up to you whether you want to go straight into commenting or if you want to see if I'm back and ready to comment.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So it is 4th of July Radio Liturgy by Rosewinter 515.
And it goes like this. 4th of July Radio Liturgy. Lyrical radio introduction. Welcome to our 4th of July broadcast. Today we remember a summer long ago when a handful of voices gathered in hope and set down words they believed were woven into the very fabric of creation. That life carries sacred worth, that liberty is the breath of the human spirit, and that the pursuit of happiness is a journey meant for every soul. Those lines, written in 1776, rose like a dawn over a young and uncertain land, yet their light traveled far beyond its borders. Across oceans and generations, they became a quiet blessing, guiding hearts that long for dignity, compassion, and peace. Wherever we live, these hopes belong to us too. They speak to friendship across the seas, to harmony among neighbors, to the quiet strength of human longing for a world shaped gently by goodwill. 4th of July Song of Praise. We give thanks for the hope first spoken in 1776, a truth rising like morning across a new land, that life is sacred, liberty a human calling, and happiness a path entrusted to every soul. Those rights of man, penned with steady courage, travel far beyond the shores where they began. They cross the seas as quiet seeds of freedom, guiding hearts that seek a gentler world. Across all lands, these truths are held with reverence, for dignity is the birthright of God's creation, and we all carry the same bright longing to live in peace and happiness and hope. Universal Hymn of Praise. Across the seas, the hopes and dreams are rising, carried by voices longing for gentle days. Different lands, yet one shared human story, held in the grace that moves through all creation. Life is honored in every quiet harbor, in fields and cities shaped by patient hands. Liberty breathes where hearts protect each other, and freedom grows in acts of steady kindness. Happiness travels through the world's wide nations, a simple wish carried by every soul. It lives in friendship offered without condition, and in the courage to walk a peaceful path. Harmony rests where goodwill shapes our choices, where neighbors greet each other with open hearts. It grows in places where hope is gently nurtured, and where compassion guides the human journey. Benediction for all nations. May peace abide across the seas and valleys, and may love shine on every home and shore. May harmony flourish wherever hearts are open, and may God's beautiful world bless every life. Closing musical cue. And now, as the final words settle softly across the airwaves, let the music rise in a calm, hopeful tone, a gentle cadence of peace for every nation, carried on God's enduring grace. End poem. And if you are not back yet, Pam.
I am back. Yes. Yes. I really like how she broke this into 3 parts. Wow, that introduction. I honestly should have had Rose write the introduction for the show.
Right?
She did a fabulous job with this. But yeah, I like how she broke it into parts: lyrical radio introduction, 4th of July song of praise. And I do think the song of praise to me is a very important part, because that's one of the freedoms we have, that freedom of religious practice, so, no matter what God or, what your religious beliefs are, we live in a land where there is that freedom to practice, that freedom to express. I also, and I like every single part, but another thing I really like is the ending, not the very ending, but the benediction for all nations. I think it's just a beautiful spiritual look at, the hopes and the idea of love shared, the hope that love it will be shared and shine throughout all nations. May peace abide across the seas and valleys, and may love shine on every home and shore. May harmony flourish wherever hearts are open, and may God's beautiful world bless every life. I feel like Rose Winter 515 really put her heart into this right. In fact, I have to say that, first of all, I love the different styles that are coming out, the different expressions, how people are voicing their thoughts on the day and the subject and the history in different ways. And for Rose Winter 515, I think it's to her very important, not only for this right, but for many of her rights, to bring in her spiritual beliefs and this idea of this really thoughtful idea of that light and love that's shared throughout the world. And I definitely can feel the right or the heart in this. Another lines I have to say that particularly stood out to me is those rights of man penned with steady courage travel far beyond the shores where they began. They cross the seas as quiet seeds of freedom, guiding hearts that seek a gentler world. Sadly, the reality is, and I love those lines, but the reality is that getting to freedom is very rarely a gentle process. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's just a wonderful right and very well done.
Yeah, so I think you covered a fair bit of my thoughts. I do think that it was gorgeously written and contained a solid, related the Declaration of Independence back to Rose Winter's spiritual beliefs, and I think her spiritual beliefs are very much rooted in the generality of the language of the Declaration of Independence. That that it endows everyone with these rights, not just all men, but everyone. I thought I would. I thought I would note. I did actually take a constitutional law and history class many decades ago, and I thought I would focus on something that she actually is contained in a number of places in her poem. The idea that what the what we did here, the we, not the I we, but the what the colonists did in writing the Declaration of Independence was, in a sense, to introduce a new technology or a new advancement into the world. Um, some of these ideas were radically new, and people around the world took notice, and um, these ideas spread as new ideas, as new technologies go, the self-governance and inalienable rights and so forth. And it actually, these ideas were adopted around the world by other groups of people seeking to be free. For example, Venezuela declared independence in 1811, and their Declaration of Independence was, well, I think it was written in Spanish, not in English, but it largely followed the United States' Declaration of Independence. Uh, People might also be interested in knowing that Ho Chi Minh directly quoted the U.S. Declaration of Independence in 1945, and explicitly stating that all men are created equal. And so these are two rather startling examples, I think, for many people of other groups of people with very different eventual political systems still kind of rooting their independence on the same ideals, and same same ideals as were laid out in the Declaration of Independence. So what the framers, what the writers and signers of the Declaration of Independence and the framers of the Constitution did was to create a new model that was quickly adopted by many groups of people around the world. And I think Rose Winter captures that in a number of places. It just, if nowhere else, just in the idea of how these ideas do apply to everyone around the world. So I really liked that especially about this poem, the idea of the spread of this novel, revolutionary, dangerous idea, how it spread and changed the way that other people think of their own life and liberty and pursuit of happiness. So really, really nicely done, Rose Winter.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. And up next, we have The Light That Still Rises by Kathy Cross. And it goes like this. The sky unravels into sparks of red, bright paper lanterns blooming overhead, each burst a promise stitched in firelight, each crack a question trembling through the night. Our founders wrote on parchment thin and frail, a living draft meant not to fail, but bend and grow as good hearts steered the fragile freedoms they revered. Yet now the rockets hiss like warning signs, their trails like ink that blurs the lines. Polarized thunder shakes the air, and truth burns fast as flares declare. The courts, once steady as the summer shore, now flicker like torches in a war. Ballots flutter, paper wings at risk, caught in winds grown sharp and brisk. Still gratitude rises with each flare, a stubborn glow against despair. But when the final burst inflames the dark, I fear its parchment catching spark, the very document we praise, now curling in the firework blaze. End poem.
Oh, yeah. So I liked this a lot. This is a really strong write by Kathy Cross. The idea of the parchment that the Declaration is written on being, being very fragile. Just the parchment itself being fragile as a metaphor for the fragile democracy, our fragile democracy. I'm not sure I would call it thin and frail, but it's at least mostly thin and frail. And a living draft meant not to fail, but bend and grow as good hearts steered. So the idea of not the Declaration, but the Constitution as being kind of a living document that can be shaped and amended and reinterpreted as well as time goes on and as situation changes. But the freedoms that are supposed to be protected by both documents need to be continued to be revered, and to me, that's the real danger. Is once those inalienable rights get a little bit tattered and morphed, that's where the real danger comes along. But then also she brings in images of war with rockets and polarized thunder, flares, and then the courts once steady as the summer shore now flicker like torches in a war. So I think she brings in the idea of or the images of war as part of the warning sign, and maybe she's thinking of recent events. Maybe she's thinking of past wars, but just how much they can threaten a democracy. So I thought she did a really good job with all of that. I really like this poem a lot. What did you think, Pam?
Yeah, I thought this was a strong write. I liked the consistency in tone, the imagery and metaphors. I like how she took something like the fireworks, like she took the fireworks, which is, a representation of celebration, and kind of turned it on its head by saying, this can also be used as a metaphor for showing us, that we're skating on thin ice. And we just, I don't know, like I'm trying to find the right words, but I feel like she reminds us that yes, we have these freedoms, but both current times and in the past, throughout history, there have been times where those rights, those freedoms have been challenged, and that they've had to be fought for. I like that she, I really appreciate and like that she expresses her fear for the country that we live in, and especially in that end line. Still, gratitude rises with each flare, a stubborn glow against despair. But when the final burst inflames the dark, I fear its parchment catching spark, the very document we praise, now curling in the firework blaze. um that actually like makes me think of book burning, and the idea that when people don't want when some the system doesn't want people to understand their rights, one of the first things they try to do is take away knowledge, take away material that they could read that contradicts or conflicts against what they're trying to brainwash people to believe. And the imagery is great. The message is strong. And it's presented in just a beautiful rhyming poem. And I like that Kathy just has that message of, yes, you have freedom, but keep your eyes open and be on guard. So excellent, right? And very well done. All right.
What do we got next?
Well, up next we have Oh Canada by Ken Smith. So, obviously
mine,
written
right?
by a Canadian. So,
Yeah.
go ahead and give that a read, please, John.
All right. This is Oh Canada by Ken Smith. The birthday come around. A flag drapes from the balcony above me. Bold maple leaf in the middle of the banner. Humble and proud without all the banter. Down below, the leaf reflected in the leaves. The cool shade of maple trees. Come dusk, the leaves are dark footprints of stars that dropped down to sing your independence. End poem.
Great read there, John. And Ken did ask if it was okay and put that right in, and I said, "Oh, absolutely, absolutely." He says in his AN, "I hope you don't mind my Canada Day poem. I couldn't find a contest for it, and freedom is a universal virtue." And that is so true. Amen to that. A celebration of freedom should be everyone's celebration. I thought these were really nicely written couplets. I really like bold maple leaf in the middle of the banner, humble and proud without all the banter. And then come dusk, the leaves are dark footprints of stars and dropped down to sing your independence. I really like those end lines because I kind of feel like that connects that idea, like with the mention of the stars, the idea that makes me think of the stars and stripes, and to sing your independence. It's a song that every nation should be able to sing. So this is a really nicely written brevity, and thank you so much, Ken Smith, for sharing it with us.
Yeah, so this is much more aligned with Canada Day than July 4th, American Independence Day. But I do think you're right. It speaks to the universality of notions of freedom and so forth. And also in freedom and in independence. And so it's not exactly directly related to the Declaration of Independence or Independence Day, but maybe is pointing out the universality of freedom and independence beyond American borders. borders, which, as I said before, seems to have been an idea that took root, around the world. So much so that most people probably, feel that these are inalienable rights. So nice. I think it's nicely well done. And I'm glad Ken felt he could submit it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Me too. Me too. And Robbie popped in and said, "Oh, Canada, I came just in time." Laugh out loud. That's great. That's great. It's good to see Robbie. All right. Let's see what we have next. All right. Up next, we have Fireworks by Dark Night of the Soul. And let me also get that posted in on YouTube. And here we go. All right. So, and it goes like this. Upon rare occasion, my childhood family functioned like a Upon rare occasion, my childhood family functioned like a well-oiled machine. The preteen 4th of Julys of memory were such a time. Fireworks started at dusk in Hyde Park. Me, Mom, Dad, Sis, and Granny parked our butts on well-worn blankets, swiped from our pets for a night. We'd pull out a picnic basket of treats. Junk food was part of our food triangle. We nibbled, chatted, as sweet Granny reached for Cheez-Its instead of her dietic cookies. We chastised, but she'd insist, if you like them, you eat them. I couldn't blame her. Even our pups wouldn't touch them. En route to the park, we kids giggled excitedly, passed American flags on porches, waved obligatory hellos to neighbors, and waited. Tom Petty had it right. The waiting is the hardest part. When the fireworks started, we oohed and awed at colorful displays of red, white, and blues, flowers, fountains, comets, crossets, all hail pyrotechnics. On a starlit night, it was better than Wizard of Oz or Saturday morning cartoons. Sister and I coordinated. At each boom, we fell over dramatically, like bad guys shot point blank in old westerns, landing onto packs of Cheez-Its. Crunch, nearly loud as fireworks. It lasted 15-20 minutes and ended with rapid fire set of explosions and colors to impress the most curmudgeonly in the crowd. As kids, we thought life was always this exciting and fresh. I miss that sweet oblivion. End poem.
Nice read there, Pam. So I like these types of poems that are kind of like childhood memory kind of driven poems. This has a certain amount of like innocence, childhood innocence, and talking about the family 4th of July celebrations of their childhood. So talking about it as sort of like a family, like we did today, kind of a family communal gathering slash annual ritual. And at the end, he says, I miss that sweet oblivion. So he's fondly remembering these days with lots of little minutia as kind of examples of, I think, what he is reminiscing about and missing. Me, Mom, Dad, Sis, and Granny parked our butts on well-worn blankets, swiped from our pets for a night, pulling out picnic baskets, eating, sharing food. And I really, I'm a big Cheez-Its fan. And I also have written a poem about Cheez-Its, so I'm always happy when I see a Cheez-Its poem. So that last 2 lines, as sweet granny reached for Cheez-Its instead of her dietetic cookies. So it just feels like a seriously lived childhood that he's writing about here. And then, you know, Hyde Park, I think maybe Dark Knight of the Soul may have grown up in New York. There's obviously the Hyde Park in is it London, but I think he might be actually talking about Hyde Park, New York, which is on the Hudson, north of New York, actually near Rhinebeck, north of Poughkeepsie. And I'm actually sort of envisioning, or, you know, in my head, I can see sort of like fireworks maybe being blown up, or you know, fireworks shows over the Hudson River. And so for me, it paints a lovely little a lovely image of these childhood 4th of Julys. And then, you know, I miss that sweet oblivion at the end, kind of signals to me, or you know, says to me that, you know, it was easy to ignore everything but the celebration in those days. So and so maybe he's saying it's not so innocent now, that, you know, 4th of July is taking on a more serious and adult style celebration or reflection. So I thought that was a really strong ending. It kind of gives it a little bit of a twist, I think. What did you think, Pam?
Yeah, this is an amazing write, and I love the nostalgia in it, and I like how he does write about simpler times, and how, you know, those end lines are filled with, you know, that idea of, well, as he says in his very end line, I miss that sweet oblivion. That idea of just wanting it to be fun again, just wanting to be all about people having fun together and loving each other, instead of being so aware of so much hatred and damage that is within our society. You know, when you grow up and you become more aware, so, you know, that awareness is a good thing to have, but but it does leave you kind of wishing for those better days. I did get a big kick out of his granny, though. That was awesome. That sounds just about as mouthy as my granny. So, you know, I
Yeah.
liked it. I liked it for sure. You know, if you like them, you eat them.
Right.
I couldn't blame her. Even our pups wouldn't touch them. But yeah, I like this. And I think many people can relate to this, you know, who families that celebrated in similar ways. You know, when I was a kid, I was very fortunate for at least part of my childhood to live in the country on a lake. And so, you know, my dad and my uncles and my grandfather, they would be like, you know, standing at the end of the dock, lighting off fireworks. And of course, you know, there'd be just food and drinking and all that. And yeah, sometimes the drinking got out of hand, but that's not a huge, that's not a
Yeah.
huge surprise. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
But I really liked when the fireworks started. We oohed and awed at colorful displays of red, white, and blues. That the imagery in that stanza just really captures the magic of the moment. So excellent write by Dark Knight of the Soul, and very well done. All right. Let's see. Now the question is, did I remember to grab the next one? No, I did not, but that's okay. I will go do that now.
All right.
I was just so just focused in on the moment. All right. We have Now Let's March Against the Brits
Oh yeah.
By Poet Traveler. And go ahead, please, John.
All right. Now let us march against the Brits. July 4th contest prompt 4 by Poet Traveler. Now let us march against the Brits, forgetting our slaves and other bits. The French are with us and will still flit, along with them to victory's hit. Over the Delaware we shall go, in biting wind and wearisome row. And to our allies we shall show, we were once Brits, but no longer so. Mad King George, that German gent, and Lord North will soon be spent. Now let us celebrate this day as loyalists flee to Canada's sway. And in the future, God alone knows, they may prosper there and thumb their nose. End poem. What did you think, Pam?
Well, first of all, great read there, John. I love a good rhyming poem,
Yeah.
Although he does use some like near rhyme in a couple of them, like, I don't know, like I feel like I don't know if he was trying to just keep to a certain meter, but the one couplet that the first line ends in as, and then, I don't know, like I might have moved the as down, but maybe if let us celebrate this day as loyalists flee to Canada's sway. I don't know, maybe that just wouldn't have worked in as far as metrically, so, but it flowed. I mean, even with that, it just flowed so nicely. I like that I feel that he tackles a serious subject with humor, like in that first couplet, now let us march against the Brits, forgetting our slaves and other bits, like they were looking at I guess for me it's kind of saying that they were looking at the idea of a free country, but not necessarily working out all the details at the moment, like
right.
And how there were other people to consider in the battle that need to be done, the battles that would need to be fought over the decades and centuries. I also really like the couplet that makes a reference to Mad King George. Now there's interesting. That's an interesting story right there. So
right.
I've watched videos on him before, and it's interesting the speculation about what exactly was wrong with him. But honestly, and I don't know. I think he combines, which is interesting to me because this is only 94 words, and yet in only 94 words, he combines both a history and present time, the idea that that what are we going to look for, like God alone knows, like he says, what are we going to look forward to in the future, what is our country going to be in the future? So excellent, right, and very well done.
Yeah, this is I think a pretty interesting poem, and it brings out a lot of interesting little components to the history of the American Revolution, and it does so with this really great kind of satirical take on a fair bit of it. I thought that the second line of the first couplet was definitely my favorite. Forgetting our slaves and other bits. This little bit of a jab at the Declaration drafters and signers of like all men are created equal. Well, except for slaves and other bits. I thought that was really my favorite part. But yeah, then he captures quite a bit of at a very high level. The French were eventually our allies, and And he's got Mad King George, which is often how he was referred to, because later in life it became clear that he really did have some severe mental illness. I think most people, scholars, suspect that it was bipolar disorder. And the fact that he was actually German. But he also brings in Lord North, who I think a lot of Americans don't even know about because of the intense focus on King George. Lord North was, of course, the prime minister, and he was basically who King George blamed for the loss of the American colonies, as well as a lot of other Brits. But yeah, Lord North was the actual prime minister, and the prime minister is really the one who effects policy and so forth. So in a lot of ways, King George wasn't really the villain. Lord North really was. And I also love that the loyalists, he's got the loyalists fleeing to Canada and where they prosper, and then thumb their nose back at what the American colonists created in their absence. The fact is, the loyalists did to a large extent prosper in Canada relative to at least the early years of the American experiment. So I thought he did just a great job of incorporating a ton of history in this kind of slightly satirical, or thumbing its nose kind of a poem. So really, really well done. I enjoyed this a lot. Nope. Did we lose Pam again? I think we might have. All right. I am going to go. I will read on until she comes back. So this is 250 by Guilty. Freedom is not the birthright of a chosen few. It is an essential component of human condition. One can very well live without it, yet their lives are dulled to the shine of true glory. The fallacy is that humans have 5 senses. Freedom is the 6th sense. Woe to those who will deny freedom to be nurtured and honed in open air. Displayed and practiced with diligence or folly. After all, freedom is the right to err. End poem. Welcome back, Pam.
Good to be back. I was just getting a lot of, stuff going on, as far as sound. So I thought it'd be easier if I just dropped and came back, because I figured you'd either, fill the time with talking or just read the poem that was put up.
Oh, so I was gonna say snarky things to Monty and Robbie.
You were gonna talk behind my back on air.
Oh, there you go.
And then realize that the show gets recorded. Oh my gosh. Too funny. Yeah, I like 250 as the title. The title alone giving a nod to the fact that it's the 250th birthday of the United States of America. This is a strong right. So much said within a brevity. And I like how he reminds us from the opening line, as he says, freedom is not the birthright of a chosen few. It is the essential component of the human condition. Mm-hmm. And he didn't put a specific prompt that I can see, but I will say there was a quote that I had put in the contest, which I thought it really connected well with. Let's see, there was this one: we must be free, not because we claim freedom, but because we practice it. And this one, freedom is the oxygen of the soul. And that's by Moshe Dayan.
Yeah.
And I think it fits well with both of those. And I think it actually, the second one I read would make more sense, especially since he says, woe to those who will deny freedom to be nurtured and honed in open air. You know, like, why are you denying people the right to freedom? You know, why are you denying them the right to be true to themselves? I mean, honest to goodness. I mean, I know you just read this poem and did a fabulous job of it, but I find every single part of this brevity so strong in what it expresses about our history, about our current times. But the last thing I'll quote is that end line. After all, freedom is the right to err. And that is so true. That is so true. You know, you can use the freedom to speak up. I think one important thing, though, is for me anyways, to acknowledge is that, yeah, you have the freedom to make mistakes and, you know, or even to have poor judgment in a time, but you're not free from the consequences, you know, like, and I'm not talking, I'm like, you're talking, you know, like natural consequences, or, you know, there's different kinds of consequences, but to me it is, yes, you have that freedom to make mistakes, you have that freedom to have poor judgment, but hopefully you will use those mistakes, you will use that poor judgment to as an opportunity to learn and to grow. Just an amazing write by Guilty, and very well done.
Yeah, so I think those two prompts are very definitely what Guilty was responding to here. The 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 idea that you know, there's sort of this it's aligned with sort of the philosophical core of Independence Day, which is, you know, that which is around the meaning of freedom, and in a sense, who gets to claim it. And part of the poem speaks to freedom as action. You know, what we have to do in order to maintain our freedom. The other quote by Moshe Dayan, you know, about freedom being the oxygen, is it the oxygen of the soul? I think that's captured in that line, you know, freedom is the sixth sense. And I think that's a really good line. It's certainly memorable, but I think it's also, in a sense, true. You know, I think we know, we may not be able to articulate why, but we actually know it when our freedom is hindered or reduced in some way. It's just like it's just something that we feel deep in our bones, like it is a sixth sense. So I thought that was the best line in the poem. That last line, freedom is the right to err, I took it a little bit differently. I took that to mean that, you know, liberty is messy, and you know, we're going to make mistakes as we try to craft form a society, and evolve a society in a more and more complex world, that still honors, you know, freedom. And we're going to make mistakes because, you know, building that society is a messy job, and it's very much going to be error prone, and, you know, it's done by humans, and humans are very mistake prone. And so I took that last line to also really kind of point to just how messy it is, you know, the day-to-day governing and the day-to-day evolution of the society, and, you know, sort of saying, hey, you're going to make mistakes because liberty is messy. And it's okay to make those mistakes. So I thought this was a strong write, and definitely a strong brevity. So there was a lot in this, even though it was only, what, like 10 couplets or something, or 10 lines. Yeah, 10 lines.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And I like your observations on that end line. That's really great. Definitely. So, oh, just to let you know, as of right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 poems left. And if possible, if you feel up to it, John, I would like to finish them
Yeah,
just
let's go
because
for it.
all right,
Yep.
great. Because there really isn't anywhere else to carry 4th of
I know.
July rights
Right.
to. So, you know,
Yep.
as long as, StreamYard doesn't decide it's had enough of us,
Oh, no.
let's
It lets us go over. So.
let's just go for it. All right. So let me get the next one posted in YouTube. All right. So we have Be It the Truth by Ed Hunter. And it goes like this. I have watched 2 riots in my lifetime, and the most notable event was the Capitol insurrection. The aftermath claimed no justice for the system. Nothing was corrected. Nothing has changed in time. The second riot was after Dr. Martin Luther King's assassination. I was young. I was afraid. I didn't understand why. There were fire bombs, sirens all over town, and school closings, boarded homes and stores, police, firemen, ambulances. What's this have to do with my poem? Think and rethink. It's the number one cause of conflict, hate. Why haven't we learned? Do you want our children to learn the word hate or love? Today, I watched 2 people climb to the top of the Empire State Building in New York and place a banner that read, "When the power of love beats the when the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace." What does this mean to you? Can we teach our youth this phrase? Today I will not know. Tomorrow I will not know. Maybe when I'm gone from this world, there will be an answer. So far, nothing has changed. End poem.
Yeah. Nicely done. Ed Hunter, right? Sorry. Yeah, nicely done, Ed Hunter. I saw those 2 people climbing to the top of the Empire State Building, and I was, photos like that just give me absolute anxiety and panic attacks. So I had completely
I
missed what the
so get
banner said. I was
that.
just like, my palms were getting sweaty, my breathing was labored, and my pulse was racing. I'm just like, I've been to the top of the Empire State Building, on the observation decks, but and that was hard enough for me. I can't imagine climbing the way that they did to make their point. And my guidance to them is, if you freak me out like that, I'm never going to remember what the words were on the banner.
Yeah, right.
But I do think the idea is strong. I think when the power of love beats the love of power, that's going to, in my mind, that's going to produce a more just, a more freedom heavy society. And the idea here, because he's relating it to insurrections, the idea here is that, the lack of peace shows up as things like insurrections. I guess when I was my dad's parents lived in Detroit until 1976, and I'm aware of the annual burnings of Detroit that happened every year for several years, and I always thought of those as sort of mini insurrections. Just like there's nothing here for us, so why not just burn it all down? So I'm kind of familiar with the annual. They had a name for it, but it was an annual burning of the city, basically, in protest, I guess. I would say due to inequality and social conditions and economic conditions and so forth. So I think we've had a lot of insurrections, even in my lifetime. They just tended to be smaller than, like the January 6th. And I was born after Martin Luther King's assassination and so forth. But and you know, all of the insurrection that occurred after that. But you know, that was another big example. And so I like the way that he relates the two people who climbed to the top of the Empire State Building to, you know, sort of the insurrection and chaos and violence that is still going on. So I thought this was a strong right. What did you think, Pam?
Yes, definitely a strong right. I have not seen that image yet, and I probably don't want to because honestly, like even those photographs of like when the Empire State Building and other really tall buildings were being built, and you'd see like the men having lunch sitting on the metal beam, and knowing that the photographer is up there with them, even those pictures make me queasy.
Yeah.
So you know, but yeah, I really think he offers up plenty of food for thought. Yeah, I think for me, because of where I lived and because of, you know, I don't know, like they're just when you're not right there, when you're so far distance removed, um, from the bigger cities where so much of that is happening. It wasn't really until, you know, after I grew up and moved out that I became more and more aware, you know, like I knew of Martin Luther King, obviously. We learned about him in history class, but I don't think just learning in history classes as much of an impact when you start, you know, I don't know, reading more on your own, getting to know more people. I mean, honestly, the town I grew up in, we did not have much of a variety of people. You know, like I think it was a town of 500 and something, and 499 were white. So, you know,
Right.
I had a lot of learning and growing to do. I like his questions asked. Why haven't we learned? Do you want our children to learn the word hate or love? That is such an important question. You know, love is such a both hate and love are powerful forces. And you know, they're just what do we want to teach future generations, and which direction do we want them to go? I also like how in his second stanza, when he says, I was young, I was afraid, I didn't understand why. Like there's that acknowledgement, and it had to have been scary for a kid. It's like, and sometimes it's necessary when people aren't being treated right for them to stand up for the rights, you know, and sometimes standing up for those rights comes with, you know, having to, like, I feel like, not that I'm condoning violence, but I understand being pushed to your limits. But I also understand how scary it had to have been. I know if I had been a kid raised in an area where that was happening, I would have been absolutely horrified. But I love the raw honesty of this and the emotional impact and how he delivers such an important message. So very well done.
Mm.
All right. Gonna get the next one. And we have Freedom 250, The Promise We Still Keep by Red Summertime. And go ahead, please, John, give that a read.
All right. Freedom 250, The Promise We Still Keep by Red Summertime. No nation wakes to perfect dawn, nor reaches peace in just one day. Each age must mend what time had torn and hold the rising dark at bay. Red Summertime. The promise caught the morning lights, where steadfast hearts let freedom speak. It named the birth of human rights, to shield the free and raise the weak. To form a union strong and true, where justice walks with even hand. To bless the old, inspire the new, and bind one hope across the land. For liberty was more than flame, or muskets fired through smoke and rain. It asked that every soul could claim a life unchained by needless pain. Though years have brought both loss and strife, the stars still crown the watchful sky. Each generation preserves its life, and dreams no darkness can deny. The flag still finds the restless breeze. Its colors catch the rebel fire. It bears the hopes of land and seas. They call each soul to reach still higher. So let the bells of freedom ring, where countless eyes have dared to see the birth of hope on freedom's wing, the day a people stood as free. End poem. Wow.
Great. Yeah.
What'd you think?
Oh my goodness. As always, Red Summertime just really impresses me. Not only with, his rhyme and flow, which is always impeccable.
Yeah.
But the message that comes across with this, the idea of what that flag stands for, what those ringing bells stand for. I think this is such a great response to that we the people. I like that I like the quote of his that he put at the beginning of the poem. And, there's just so many strong lines throughout. I like, for liberty was more than flame or muskets fired through smoke and rain. It asked that every soul could claim a life unchained by needless pain. Though years have brought both loss and strife, the stars still crown the watchful sky. Each generation preserves its life, and dreams no darkness can deny. I like that he brings in each generation, the idea that these rights and these freedoms that are represented by that flag flying high, and the idea of the birth of hope isn't just about the signing of the Declaration of Independence. I mean, that's an important part of it, but it's about us carrying that idea forward. So an amazing, strong write by Red Summertime, and very well done.
Yeah, I really like how he writes perfect tetrameter. I mean, absolutely fantastically well written. It's so easy to read, and especially with I think a picture perfect rhyming scheme. But I like how he incorporates, all of the ideas of the contest of the Declaration of Independence, liberty and justice and hope and unity and so forth. But not just as something that was captured at the moment they signed the Declaration of Independence, but as an ongoing responsibility for all of us. That these are ideals that have to be continuously fought for and built upon as well. So, as notions of freedom or justice or unity change, we have to continue to build upon them so that they don't degrade or morph into something else. So I like that line, each generation preserves its life, because I think that points to the consequences of not preserving them are reduced lives, quality of life, or even in the worst case, loss of life. So he kind of puts in there the consequences, the gravity of what happens if each generation doesn't preserve it. So I thought this was really nicely done, and the tetrameter is fantastic.
I was noticing your little conversation about Vegemite, and I have to say, I actually want to try it. Just to say that I have.
It's not bad. It's just salty, and
right. Well, I really like salty foods, so but what I've heard about it is it's one of those things that people like either really hate or really love. And I have watched some funny videos on Americans trying Vegemite for the first time. And
Robbie, it's very much like Marmite. Marmite is British, but very, very similar. Not identical, but very close. Yeah, it's one of the, when I was growing up, I would put salt on my watermelon, and I for the life of me, I can't remember why now, but that was what I did, and I grew up eating salted watermelon, and if you gave
I've
it to
heard
me
of
now,
other people.
I love it,
I
but
wonder if I don't know, like, did you grow up on the East Coast?
no, West Coast.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, I remember Jean mentioning she did the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was wondering if it was an East Coast thing, but I've
Oh.
heard of other people doing that.
I may have gotten it from my dad, who grew up in Detroit. So I don't know. I don't know where I got it, but I would do it, and then later, I just stopped, and because watermelon is epic without it. But I suspect if I did it again, it would just like immediately take me back to my childhood, even though it's not something I would normally do now. So I think Vegemite might
Right.
be like that. If you grew up eating it, it's awesome.
Yeah. No, I like the combination. I would probably like it. I never grew up, like I never tried it, but I probably like it. I did see this really neat idea of soaking watermelon in tequila and then sprinkling it with salt.
Oh yeah.
So
That
that.
makes sense to me, because people do the salt before shooting the tequila, right? So
Yes.
yeah, that would
Yes.
make sense to me.
Exactly. All right, so I have the next poem up, and it is Declared by Ben by Ima Rima, and it goes like this. Ben Franklin, 70 years old, the oldest delegate to sign the declaration signed by Bold that independence be divine. Ben was one of 5 who helped write Declaring of Independence, knowing full well there'd be a fight from the British wrath consequence. 1776 on the 4th of July be the day. Putting his signature upon words of advice Ben had to say, hanging together they need be, or they'd surely hang separately. End poem.
Yeah, nicely done. Nice read of Ima Rima's sonnet. Yeah, so this is nice. It kind of captures the signing of the Declaration of Independence from the perspective of Benjamin Franklin, and I learned a lot that I didn't know before. I didn't know that he was 70 at the time of the signing, and that he was the oldest. It makes sense because he had such a long and amazing career, and I suspect that most of the signers were, maybe more in their 30s or 40s. There weren't that many elder statesmen around at the time. So yeah, thank you, Ima, for this was very informational for me as well. But I my favorite part, of course, is the ending couplet. It's really, really well done. Hanging together they need be, or they'd surely hang separately, is a very true statement, and very poetic, and a perfect ending, I think, to this nice sonnet about the signing of the Declaration of Independence. What'd you think?
Yeah, I really enjoy and appreciate how in these short poems, Ima always has such great attention to detail. I did know that he was the oldest delegate to sign, but I honestly didn't know his exact age.
Hmm.
I too really like that ending couplet that reminds us of his quote, but also that, of the importance of standing together, the idea that people like a society that's where people are pitted against each other is going to fall apart, you know and I don't I think this had great lines throughout. The I like how she says the 4th of July be the day, putting his signature upon words of advice. I like that she brings that up because honestly, I think, yeah, I was reading that some people believe that it should actually be celebrated on July 2nd. I think it was John Adams was very opinionated that the that it should be celebrated on July 2nd. So,
John
but
Adams opinionated on something.
right. Actually, I feel like many of them were, maybe not, some more than others. Like, I will be honest, like Ben Franklin, I think with all his different interests and abilities, I
Yeah.
think if I could travel back in time and, have a conversation with him, it would be truly interesting. But I feel like some of the stuff I've read about this man, I'm truly would butt heads with him, you know. It definitely quite the character for sure.
I would like to just sit and talk to him about inventing for like 10 hours straight.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But predict,
That would be a great conversation for
yeah.
sure. Absolutely.
But I mean,
Well,
he was so monumental in getting the French to support the colonists in the Revolution, and I don't think that there was any. He was the elder statesman, in the among the colonists. He was literally, he had the experience and the knowledge of the French, and he was basically the American ambassador to France. And if it weren't for him, the French never would have supported the colonists. And it's unlikely that the colonists would have won without the French support. So yeah, he was the elder statesman of the time.
I think I remember that, but that is interesting. That is good information to share because like you said, he obviously he played a very important part,
Yeah.
you know. So absolutely. Now, just to let you know, the last three rights are on topic rights that were shared on the board and are not contest entries.
Yep.
So, all right. So we have up next a Queasy Fourth by Miriam Kilmer. And go ahead, please, John, and give that a read.
You sure you don't want to give this a woman's voice? And I'll do the next.
Well, the thing is, I don't think this necessarily doesn't need a woman's voice.
I don't know. I didn't read it.
Well, I kind of wanted to go in this order only because I really wanted your voice for Bear Den 7.
Okay.
So
I will. I'll try to read it with a very female voice. A Queasy Fourth by Miriam Kilmer. My country celebrates with hot dogs. Boom. Smoke and colors streak the sky. A crazy dawn fracturing the night over and over. Ice freezes my blood. My government's masked thugs hunt down brown pilgrims of today, incarcerating freedom seekers, even children. I celebrate the coming daylight, freedom for all. Please pass the mustard. End poem. Woo! Whoa.
Great read there, John. Oh man, this one definitely hits hard. It's biting. I mean, there's just so much of this that I just nod and shake my head at the same time. It's like First of all, my country celebrates with hot dogs. Oh my gosh. I was watching a video of a stand-up comedian today that was mentioning that the United States of America is the only nation that has a nationwide hot dog eating contest. Now, I will say I love food that cannot be denied. I hate eating competitions, especially hot dog eating competitions. I mean, oh my God, it makes me queasy just thinking about it. But I think to me, I mean, and this is a great right all the way through, but the most powerful lines are ice freezes my blood. My government's masked thugs hunt down brown pilgrims of today, incarcerating freedom seekers, even children. She places that stanza just exactly where it needs to be, right in the middle of the celebrations, to remind us that, yeah, you can celebrate, but right now, even amongst celebrating, you need to acknowledge the horrifying presence that is in our country right now. So strong right by Miriam Kilmer, and I really appreciate her sharing it with us.
Oh yeah, I'm actually really starting to get upset that this wasn't submitted to the contest, because this would have been my I would have voted for this for a gold medal. I love how I don't want to call it a brevity, but it is a brevity. But what I would say is that it's very compressed. It says so much and it doesn't need to be longer because the compression is so high. Um, I I I have like one of my best mates, Mark. He is, I, there's not only all of these damn hot dog eating contests. There's people that like follow it as if it's a sport, and my mate Mark follows every hot dog eating contest on earth, and always watches like video after video after video of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And I'm sure when I wake up in the morning, there's going to be a 25-page summary of the contest waiting in my inbox. I mean, he's just fanatical about it, and I just sit there and shake my head. I have no idea why anybody would do such a thing. It's just ridiculous. But to also, kind of integrate it into the 4th of July celebration makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So I'm with you there, Pam. But I like how she starts off with using that as an example of sort of the ridiculousness of the celebration to some extent. And then there's the boom of the fireworks and the smoke and the colors and so forth. But then immediately just kind of cracks that facade of celebration with ice freezes my blood. That's a strong indictment, I think, stanza. The next couplet stanza, I celebrate the coming daylight, freedom for all, I feel is just one line too long. If she should have just stopped with I celebrate the coming daylight, because that would have been my favorite line in the whole poem. But given that she then spells out the coming daylight with freedom for all, my favorite line is the ending, please pass the mustard. It just kind of returns to the ridiculousness of the hot dogs as kind of a symbol for the 4th of July celebrations. I think this is just such a strong poem.
Oh, it absolutely is. And yeah, that ending line really created a connection between the beginning and the end, which makes a poem really feel complete.
Yeah, exactly.
So, absolutely.
All right.
All right. Up next, we have Preamble to the Resolution parody by Way Down Upon Joy. And it goes like this. We, the peaceful of the United States, spin order to form a more perfect communion, establish toughness, endure domestic futility, outride uncommon suspense, and denote our general despair. We secure the blessings of victory for ourselves in our disparity to regain and establish this resolution for the delighted states of America. End poem.
Oh dear. Nice. That's clever. That's
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Oh, that's really clever. So that's the preamble to the U.S. Constitution, but spun satirically to sort of point out sort of the corruption of the machine, I would say. I think it kind of points out just how we revere toughness, and in a sense, because of that, we have to endure domestic futility. I think that line is my favorite, because it just points out that we often really work against ourselves. But I also like the first line of the second stanza. We secure the blessings of victory for ourselves. I feel like we are often very inward focused, and nothing matters except for us winning, even if it's at the expense of others. I thought those are my two favorite images from this lovely Right by Joy. I'm a little, I don't think I've ever seen Way Down Upon Joy write a poem like this before. So, like a parody that is kind of this biting. And so I love it. I'm more like this, Joy.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is, fabulous. This was originally written to an Alice Walker quote. Poetry is the life blood of rebellion, revolution, and raising of consciousness. I think that's such a great, it works not only very well for this show, but is a great response to that quote. I mean, this is a spot on parody. And what I like is that it has the humor that a parody needs, but it also has a message. This is, not only a wonderful parody, but it's an excellent write on the importance of peaceful demonstrations that speak up for the rights of people. Like it says, we the peaceful of the United States, and establish toughness. Like sometimes like it's good to be peaceful as much as possible, but sometimes you got to really get tough, especially when it comes to standing up for your rights. So just absolutely a fabulous write by Way Down Upon Joy, and very well done.
Huh.
All right. So this next poem, you're probably going to want to take a drink before and a drink after. But I do think it'll be much better in your voice. So I purposely saved it for you. Okay. And it is Potential by Bear Den 7. And go ahead and give that a read.
All right. Potential by Bear Den 7. This young life calling from back when, a brown bag blown in a silent audition with an emptiness. Invisible currents of change and timing. A man on Red Injection Street, if he had one left. Money's white rag torn, make-believe paper dishonesty. A beginning blue threaded to manipulated ends. Ravenous free greed and whatever generational government corruption could steal. Heartbeat rock and roll born in a perfect boyhood USA memory. Sweet. First kiss mountain joy, lessons from nature with a capital N, like you use G when mentioning God, hard spirit light. Heart math Superman Breaking Bad heroes echoes. Too many ghosted friends still lost outside forever's kinetic presence. Missing Arlington's brother of the flag spinning in history's cycle. Bones come to play The Price is Right out there in River City. A trombone band in the land of the loser, criminal leader sickness. Telling us, let's make a deal, while thousands die behind the curtains. Oh yes, trouble, and I do mean coming on the triple double. Here comes the brand new and improved unlimited debt slave war. New shit you haven't seen before. As banks meets military AI politics, controlled digital bacterial synthetic bubble. COVID mean anything? That was a holiday vacation. Over 1 million dead with more to follow. And, well, it's almost time for another 9/11. Maybe a holiday? An olive branch? Oh yeah, freedom? Is highly suggested a conspiracy theory made up by the CIA after killing Kennedy. Doesn't mean they're not already actively killing you, now does it? See Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, Afghanistan, Libya, on and on and on. Getting the picture? Another way to celebrate war? Any of that ringing a bell? The one you don't, won't, can't hear? Yeah, it always told for someone, just not you. But once it rang for me, taught me about eternity, the fourth of the myth, of false law, of fake justice, fake news, fake money, fake fakes, of love, dying hearts of service life laid down by hiding the moment, a fourth of honor and the best scumbag betrayal right in front of your eyes. The whole time you have been alive, the fourth of electron voting disguise in all the lies, it is all built on, since way back when. For what? Oh yes, can't wait to kill some common core Jesus groupthink rabbits believing in Allah or Buddha or Shiva or AI, a mirage of corporate independent command and control. The USA interface named the draft. Belief? Damn right. If you're fecking rich enough to be writing the deception process flags, happiness, justice, the American way, please, I only wanted an ice cream. Kindness, family, friends, don't forget the business model of massacres and Ready Player One. Murder? Ass, F King, God, everywhere. Standard operating procedure. Sorry, didn't you know? Proud of yourself, waving a PSYOP veil, no longer a calculated risk. You are looking at another idea of dominance, celebrating life on the go. Yes, though I left that one out. Aren't we the White Knights or the Shining Hill? Must be that way, since consent is manufactured every second, every day. Every day. Even the movies say so. The mass media machine gone, AI can't hide, but IT accidentally remembers too. Hey, must be true. So what's wrong with you, right? I hear you're going to kill me if I don't shut up. Screw the Fourth Amendment, little sparklies. Apple pie, baseball, all of them throwing wicked pro curves, rotting picket white fences. Yeah, fourth of what comes as lightning? The image, so wrong. It must be true. Goes boom, doesn't? Your nose ring still on while being entertained by drone death. My part, just another story meaning more nothing to the point of forgetting all of it is hypnotism. Gone my own way? I don't think so. I thank the Great Spirit I returned being no one from nowhere. Yeah, goody for me. Remembering how all todays are humans celebrating dead play, my friends in makeshift graves, okay? Back to sleep for you. There's really nothing you can do. Forget I said anything. Hut, hot dogs and burgers with fries on your shimmering false history day. Hoorah. Unlearning that lame game, but try being honest for once. Remember our deeper human history. See how that works out in your personal forever. It's only a lifetime and gone so quickly. It didn't seem Let me tell you, you ain't seen nothing yet. Hope you got your water, food safety, silver, and gold. So freedom, like saying it here, the ideal I try to touch, don't mean a thing unless freedom and liberty take you down life's road far, 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 and happily away someplace, some way, someday, with the ones of love understanding you. And I have only been here a moment, with a moment left, present, breathing, living, dreaming on a sunlit stage. Ha. End poem.
Great read there, John. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, you definitely need a drink of water or tea. For sure. Yeah. This one, the language was a little rougher. But that was okay to me. It didn't cross any lines, and but I figured save it for last. And I feel like this is definitely a poem that Rex would love to analyze if he was here. This has, to me, strong, hard-hitting lines, very visceral in its imagery and metaphors. I like that he has these questions asked in it, and I like that he doesn't hold back. This is the kind of poetry you write when you have the freedom to speak up. I like that the couple of main messages, and this is the kind of poem that for me you really have to read more than twice. But first of all, I got the idea that it speaks on struggles faced and lessons to be learned throughout history. Another thing is it reminds us that, yeah, you can be doing all this celebrate. It's kind of like Miriam's poem, only it brings a lot more in. You know what I mean? Like, it's not only as far as the word count, but also he reminds us of so many instances where we've become blind to the truth, where we're so busy celebrating and we're so busy bragging that we don't see all the damage that is being done. I really like how he speaks on betrayal, how he speaks on the almost like, he doesn't say exactly, but kind of the egos of the rich, and the idea of and then he speaks on manipulation, and the idea that people want to manipulate you to see what they want you to see. And it's kind of like that idea. To me, this poem speaks on the idea of the need to open your eyes and see clearly. Like, go ahead, have your big celebration, have your hoorah day,
Eat
but
your hot dog.
yeah. Exactly. But yeah, strong right, and great one for ending the show for sure.
Yeah, this I mean, this is just absolutely fierce and raw, and I really like my favorite line or fragment is the fourth of the myth. I thought that was just a fantastic way to like say, to basically say this is what I'm talking about. That the 4th of July is this Independence Day celebration, and we're celebrating a myth, and then he just kind of goes on to excoriate us for a pretty wide range of things. I mean, everything from drone death to 9/11 to Venezuela to Cuba to Kennedy to Iran and Afghanistan. I think 9/11 was thrown in there. So
yep.
Picks all of these up as little fragments and basically throws them all in a blender and presses the high button. And so I would say I wish it had a little bit more structure to it. Reading it was
yes.
a challenge. But
it also could have been 2 parts. Like there could have been part 1 and part 2.
Yeah, it could have been a 9-chapter PhD dissertation, actually. So, no,
It's so, yeah,
it's
so
not
true,
long,
so true.
but it is long for just how many little fragments are weaved together in there. So I started to get a little bit overloaded, and like, but I think that much of that was intentional in order to put out the in order to make it sound really raw and really fierce. And I think that is the strongest part of it, is just the voice. So I liked it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And great show tonight, John. Thank you for co-hosting with me.
Yeah, that
Very
was
much
fun.
appreciated. And thank you to Robbie and Monty for hanging on the board. Thank you to our listeners on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who wrote for the show, is listening now, or will be listening later. We truly appreciate you all. Make sure to keep an eye out on the contest and topic boards put up by our late night poets, hosts, and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. And have a wonderful night, everyone. Have a wonderful night, John.
You too, Pam.